Okay, welcome to the Thursday edition of Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. And Dad, we're going to talk about being tomorrow's Good Friday, and we're going to talk something that's really maybe not appropriate for Good Friday, but the Good Friday Massacre in what they call the 1994 Game 6 between the Montreal Canadiens and Quebec Nordiques. And
Rivalry.
you weren't in the middle of the fight, but you were kind of right in the middle of the whole schmaltz.
You know what's the funny thing? I remember I was in a dressing room right across the hall with three of the Quebec players, and we thought it was pretty good, good fight, and hey, yeah, right, and all of us, I come out and I just happened to have been there with Stastny, right? No, who was it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was
One of the Stastnys.
Yeah, both Stastnys got into a fight.
Yeah, well, I remember.
But I think it was Peter that got his nose broken.
Yeah, Peter. And I just happened to walk out. Boy, it was his nose smashed. It was so. All the guy, you're with hockey players. You think it's great. And I walk out, and it was like a funeral outside. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Well, I'll set it up a little bit.
Okay, you set it up.
So it's in the 1984 second round of the playoffs, and it was Montreal and Quebec. And you said that there's never a better rivalry.
That was the best. Boston and Montreal, and you. I
Yankees,
don't care.
Red Sox, anything.
Anything. And I've been involved in them all. And there's never been a rivalry in any sport at any time like the Quebec and Montreal. I mean, they had. Demers was a French guy. He was coaching, and on the other side they had the little Tiger Bergeron.
Yep.
And they just hated one another. You couldn't believe they had real hate. I mean, you can manufacture a little, but they had real hate.
Yeah. So it was game. So Montreal led 3-2 in the series. So Quebec wanted to win to go to Game 7, and they were up 1-0. And the thing that I found funny, and you and I talked about, was like the Stastnys never fought, very rarely.
Never. I know. They never. I know. I don't remember them.
And Anton especially, and he got into it. So they grabbed him and got it and beat him up. And I think it was Lyle Oline or somebody. No, it wouldn't have been Oline. I forget who it was. Ludwig, I think it was. Got a hold of him and gave it to him. So something's up.
Well, they in the old days, I never did it. Maybe I should have done it. But the Stastnys, they were Europeans and all that. So you had to, and they weren't afraid. They'd give it right back.
So it was 1-0, and your buddy Dale Hunter was kind of bumping the goalies. So Steve Penny was the goalie for Montreal, and Dan Bouchard was the goalie for Quebec.
Penny had a great year.
Yeah, and they were and Dale was, being Dale. So at the end of the second period, Dale kind of accidentally fell hard into Steve Penny, and the siren sounded, so both benches emptied. And you can go on YouTube and watch this. And there was a big schmalzel, and then
Dale was off the ice.
They got Dale off the ice quick enough, and then who I think the whole thing that really started it up was Chris Nyland went after Muller, and I think kind of suckered him, and they really had a fight, and then everything broke out.
And it went on and on and on. And I'm in the dressing room with the guys. Hey, this is really good, and I'm having fun.
So and then. Because you and I kind of watched it a little while ago, right?
Yeah.
Just the kind of thing. And Peter Stastny, he was just kind of standing there.
Yeah, and he gets
and Mario Tremblay came up and just started wailing on him. And
Stastny, figures.
So he remember that's when you said he came with his nose was broken.
Oh, and he come out. His nose was over about an inch over at the side.
And then what happened was, and what you saw was. Gilles Hamel and Louis Schlager.
Well, the goal, and I remember this as plain as day. The linesmen were between them, and Mario Tremblay went up and touched. Now, the story is when you're ever in a fight, you never touch your own player or any player because you distract them, and that's what happened. Hamel, when he kind of touched his shoulder, and Hamel kind of looked at Tremblay, and Schlager swept over with a left-hander and really caught him. I mean, really hit him in the eye, and down he goes.
I think he was knocked out. He only played one more preseason game after that. That was kind of the end of his career.
Yeah. So now let me kind of take over for this a little bit. So now they all go to the dressing rooms. Like they're all when they go to the dressing rooms, and I've been involved in this a few times myself. You get a letter these guys are not to return to the ice. Well, I'm looking at.
Excuse me. So the referee sends you the letter.
The referee sends a letter. These guys are not to return to the ice. So now I look out and I see all these guys come back on the ice. Now, Montreal is really ticked because Hamel's laying there with his eye his eye was really zinc. So they're ticked. They're going to get after somebody. And they all come back on the ice. So I knew exactly what was going on. And boy, I tell you, that was a schmozzle in.
Yeah, so then what happened was the players are on the ice, and the guys should be thrown out. And
one team got it and the other team didn't?
No, everybody was like, nobody got it. No team got it.
No letter. They never sent a...
So they never got it.
You should have had a note.
Bruce Hood.
And Bruce Hood was the referee. Should have had a note sent to the dressing room saying, don't let these guys back on the ice. And here they were back on the ice.
So, and it was funny that they're skating around and the announcer, he's announcing who's thrown out of the game. And remember Michel Bergeron, he went bananas when he found out that Stastny got kicked out of the game.
Got a 5-minute major.
He got a 5-minute major game. He was conduct for Trombley jumping him. So what looks like happened was it looked like Mark Hunter got thrown out of the game, and he looked like he said, "Oh, well, I'm out of the game." And then he was the guy that went after. He went after Schlager, and then
he was after Schlager because Schlager was the guy that hit Hamel.
Right, and then it was Wally Weir and Mike McPhee started to fight, and then it just blew up.
And then everybody was fighting. They had the two backup goalies throwing them, and I mean that was one of the best.
So you were doing Coach's Corner, and then things.
I'm doing the Coach's Corner. So I come out of the dressing room and with the three guys, and like I said, it was like a funeral, blood all over the place and everything. And Ralph Mallaby, the only guy that kept me on Hockey Night in Canada, I should have been gone a long time ago, said, "Get upstairs and do the color." And I hadn't done the color for a couple of years, and this is a good story. I never told this story before, but
why did you have to do the color?
Oh well, Dick Irvin, Wilma, who couldn't stand fighting. She could not stand fighting in hockey, and she was left, and Dick had to take her home.
So Dick Irvin's wife,
and
Wilma.
every time I'd phone her, I'd phone Dick and I'd phone Wilma. Hey, Wilma, boy, you should have been tonight. There was a great fight. And she always shut up, Don. And so anyhow, so he had to take her home. So I had to go up, and I was up there. I don't know how I was there with Bob Cole alone. I don't know where the other two guys went. Dick went. And I guess Mickey went to get a Haagen-Dazs or something. So anyhow, and so I want to tell him, I want to tell Bob, like I want to say, the reason I'm there is because I know what's going on. The letter should have been there. So every time I went to Bob would hold up his hand. And so now, about 5 times I went to talk and Bob would hold up his hand, don't talk. So now I'm mad. And now we have Don Cherry, who, so no, I'm not talking. Was he mad? Would Bob get mad? And let me tell you a story. When Bob used to do the announcing, he'd loosen his belt and his pants because he gets so involved. I mean, you listen to him. He's the best. I don't care. You listen to him on these broadcasts. You just hear his voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you hear his voice. You know hockey. Why they ever let him? But anyhow, he's terrific. He was terrific in this game. But I went to talk about 5 times, and he held up his hand. So I'm mad. So now I won't talk. So he gets up.
So they go to commercial.
Go to commercial, and he gets up and he takes his earphones and fires them at me. And when he stands up, his pants fall down, and here he's got these boxer shorts on with these little legs. And so I remember and I often wondered why I had to go on. I was only on for about 30 seconds, and I remember what I said. Yeah, and the rest of the guys, and so I don't care now. And terrible.
Well,
hockey.
Because everybody's saying, "Oh, we got to get back to hockey." Because it was pretty bad. I mean,
we have to get back to hockey. I hope they have some more sand. I hope they have. How do they say it? Oh yeah, we fight and then and then they were already knocking the thing. So I come on. I was on for 5 minutes, and I said, "Yeah, I didn't see anybody going out for coffee. Everybody and I thought there is a reason why I lasted so long. Everybody in the place was going nuts, except Wilma.
Yeah, except for Wilma.
But everybody was going nuts, and I come on, and I said what everybody else was. It was a pretty good fight. And yeah, I didn't see anybody else going for a coffee, did you? And that was it, and then they put me on. So then I come back, and I said, I'm going to tell you, and I was only on for 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. A note should have been sent to the dressing room. I've been involved in these a few times before. A note should have been said, and those guys should have never come back on the ice to start the fight. And that was my last time. I don't think I did color again after that.
I think in Bruce Hood, he did a couple more games in the playoffs, and he retired after that.
Yeah.
And
he never liked me.
Like as you say, you've been involved in a few brawls with Philly and all that. It just kind of boggles the mind that they forgot to send the letters.
Forgot to send a note. Like, you get the note. All right, I remember, and then Wednesday, Jonathan, you don't go back on the ice.
Usual suspects.
Yeah, well, I knew what was going on. I knew as soon as I saw the guys on ice, holy smokes, because I knew one of the Montreal guys would go after Slager because they had seen Hamel laying there with his eye, and boy, his eye was really zonked. And I knew somebody would go after Slager. And like you said, Mark Hunter said, "Oh, I'm out of the game. Well, I got nothing to lose. I'm out of the game." And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and we've been in a lot of brawls, but boy, they were trying to hurt.
No, they were
trying to hurt one. Like like you say in a fight, they always try to hurt. But like the guys were walking up and suckering guys, and
guys are suckering guys from the side.
Mark, Dale.
I think of Demers and I think Bergeron would have got in if they could have.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Demers. It might have been Lemaire. Well, it might have been Montreal's. Might have been their coach.
Oh, it was Lemaire. Yeah, it wasn't Demers. Because he was later.
They said. He did a good job pulling some guy out to the bench. It was some like goal scorer or something like that.
So he's a real terror.
Player. And the funny thing was that Quebec didn't trust their tough guys. Like Jimmy Mann, he was a guy, you were sitting with him. I remember you were saying, and he was licking his chops.
And guys like Jimmy Mann and guys like that, they thought it was great.
Right. And then it was 2-0. That was 1-0 at the time. Was 2-0, and then Montreal scored 5 straight goals and went on.
Well, they were inspired. That. Boy, I'll tell you, and as I said at start this thing, is that there's never been a rivalry, and it's a shame they don't have an NHL team right now. They got a beautiful arena there. But the big thing is that you don't have the corporate sponsors. Well, they got
that big telecommunications.
They got the whole thing. And I thought I really thought that they'd have an NHL club by now. Okay, so Seattle, now we're getting off the subject, but Seattle's going next year. The next year's got to be Quebec because they've kept their mouth shut pretty good. They haven't complained, and they could have complained, and they've got a beautiful arena, boy. They didn't buy that. They didn't build that arena for junior hockey.